Alright. So first of all, there we go. Second of all, I forgot to say in part 3, Happy Thanksgiving. I hope all of you guys had a good Thanksgiving. So please forgive me for that. But welcome back to part 4. We are going to get into, oh, there we go, the rest of that shelf, and then hopefully get into the next shelf in this part. But like I said, if I stop talking so much, but you guys like that. You like hearing the stories and everything, so that's why I keep doing it. So let's do this. And I know they're going to fall, but that's okay. Excuse me. Yep, see? Told you. Yep. Thank you, Star Wars. Alright. So first up... Actually, let me do that. Give myself some wiggle room. We have Grumpy and Grumpier Old Men, which I love these, and I'm surprised that... Shut up, throat. They've never done special editions of these. They have no features on here. I don't even think the DVDs had features. But I love these. Grumpy Old Men. Opening weekend, I think it did okay, but it was one of those movies where after opening weekend, word of mouth got out, and it became a much bigger hit after that, and that's why they did the sequel. But I remember watching these as a kid. I miss Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon. That's just me. But these movies are great, and I hopefully, it's Warner Brothers. Maybe Arrow. I think they do a great job. We'll see. But I love these movies. I have them on Laserdisc as well. I need to get them on VHS, but they're fun. They don't make comedies like that anymore. Because we're not allowed to laugh, guys. You're not allowed to joke because jokes are offensive. We're not allowed to have fun. So that's why we can't have comedies anymore. You know what I say to that? Fuck that. So there you go. And then we have Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers. The third one was terrible. Little Fockers was awful. I know they're doing... I think it's coming out next year. Well... I say that, but November is almost over. But I think in 2026, they're doing another one. I don't give a shit. So, Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro are trying to hang on to the little bit of fame that they have left. But these, Meet the Parents, I absolutely love. I think this movie is still hilarious 25 years later. I laughed my ass off when I first saw it. I still laugh today. And it's crazy that this movie came out 25 years ago. Because I remember when it came out, and I remember, this was another one that was just constantly on TV as a kid. And I would watch it as much as I could. But I still absolutely think it's funny. Oh, Jesus. And then Meet the Fockers is okay. It's definitely not as good or as funny as the first movie, but I like that Dustin Hoffman's in it because I love Dustin Hoffman. He was always one of my favorite actors. Barbara Streisand, I never cared for her. I care for her even less, but because she went all woke and everything. But she's actually not bad in this movie, but yeah, I don't think it's as funny as the first movie, and I don't think it's as good as the first movie, but it's serviceable. So there you go. And then we have The Shadow. This is the Shout Factor release, which actually has featured. This is one of my favorite comic book movies, to be honest. And I know people got mad because when Alec Baldwin shot that woman. And does anybody remember when that happened? Remember when Alec Baldwin shot that woman on set and she died and nothing happened and it was a big joke? You guys remember that? I had the character of Alec Baldwin from the movie as my avatar, and everybody got mad at me. I'm like, that The Shadow is a movie and he's a fictional character? But they're like, you talk all this shit about Alec Baldwin. I'm like, because Alec Baldwin's a fucking retard like you. So there's that. Anyway, but this is a great movie, and there is extras on here Unfortunately there is an interview with Alec Baldwin, but there's also interviews with Penelope Ann Miller and Russell Mulcahy, so that's pretty cool. And there is a German Blu-ray which has features. I think it's all from back in the day, but I do want to get that. But The Shadow, that was a movie that I had. I still have it in the closet. That was me. Don't worry. Nobody's knocking on the door. I have it in the VHS closet, and we'll cover that down the road. But that is a movie that I had on VHS as a kid. I would watch it nonstop. I still love it. Like I said, it's one of my favorite superhero. Well, The Shadow is not really a superhero. One of my favorite comic book movies. But that era of comic book movies, The Shadow, The Rocketeer, The Phantom, Dick Tracy, Mask of Zorro, even Darkman to some extent. I love those pulp 90s comic, and a lot of them didn't do well, but they've all gone on to become cult classics. I know Kino is working on The Phantom, so hopefully that'll come out in 2026 for the 30th anniversary of that movie. But I love that era, and all the Shadow, Mask of Zorro, The Phantom I had on VHS as a kid. I still have all of those, actually, from my childhood. I still have those tapes. I used to watch those nonstop. Dick Tracy was always on TV. I used to watch that, and you'll see those throughout the videos here. The Rocketeer was always on TV. Like, I love those movies. To this day, I still love them, and I'd rather watch them than whatever the fuck Marvel movie comes out this year, or whatever the case may be. So let's go ahead. Excuse me. And then we have Transylvania 6 5000. I love this. I think this movie is absolutely hilarious. This was a movie that I just randomly watched on Tubi one day. Hey, Jeffrey Jones, fuck you. How about that? Hope you die tomorrow. The job that I was working at the time, I had a lot of downtime. So I would just watch movies. That's when I discovered Tubi. I'm like, oh, it's free, and they got all these old action and horror movies on here, and again, it's free. So I just sit on Tubi and watch movies all day and get paid. And Transylvania 6 5000 was one of those movies I discovered on there and liked it so much that I picked it up on Blu-ray. But very fun movie. And then we have the non-edited version of Crocodile Dundee, and then we have Crocodile Dundee 2, which I don't know why it's offensive. It's not offensive. It's a fucking movie that came out almost 40 years ago, you pussies. But this is the non-woke version, and then the sequel, which I always liked Crocodile Dundee 2 the most, because that was more of an action movie. The first one is a great comedy, don't get me wrong, but like Beverly Hills Cop 2, which coincidentally enough was the same studio, and they came out a year apart, that was more of the action entry. So Crocodile Dundee 2 was always my favorite. I actually just ordered all three of these on VHS. I do need to get Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles on Blu-ray. That has since come out. I don't think that one's bad. I don't think it's terrible. It's not as good as the first two, but it's not a bad movie. It's not one of the worst movies ever, like some people claim that it is, because they're stupid. But I like the Crocodile Dundee trilogy, and I prefer them in the original non-gay version, so there's that. Oh my god, I said gay and retarded in the same video. What are they going to do? Oh my god. Snoochie Boochies. Anyway, Adventures of Ford Fairlane, classic. This is the Anchor Bay. This is when they changed, though. But this is the Anchor Bay Blu-ray, which is, I think, when I got it, no, I actually got this brand new. I found this at Entertain Mart in Colorado. So I got it for a good price. I can't complain. But it is out of print. It goes for ridiculous prices online. But this does not have any of the features that the DVD did. Look at the glare on the wall. Like, the DVD had a commentary with Rennie Harlan. I still have the DVD. You'll see that in another segment. But, yeah, I don't know why they didn't put... Anchor Bay did that. When they did their Fox titles, I don't think any of them had the extra features. Or if they did, it was only half of them. Because License to Drive, I know we went over that. No, we will go over that in a later segment, I think. Yeah, because it's at the bottom. License to Drive didn't have all the extra features from the DVD that, so that's why I still have that DVD. But I love Ford Fairlane. I wish that it would get a updated special edition, but it's not going to happen because Disney owns it. So there you go. And another movie that Disney owns that deserves an upgraded special edition, and it's not going to get one, is Tombstone. My favorite Western of all time. A lot of people's favorite Westerns of all time. So there you go. And this has, because I had the bare bones DVD, and then they did like a director's cut. But the director's cut never, I think the 4K might have it, I'm not sure. Excuse me. But it has the extra features from that DVD. That director's cut DVD, but it doesn't have the director's cut on there, which only had a couple. I don't know why they called it a director's cut, because we know who really directed Tombstone, and it wasn't George Cosmatos. And it's weird because when Kurt Russell, he's doing all these interviews now, they bring up Tombstone, but he never, I guess he can't technically say it or what have you, but he never says that he directed Tombstone. But when other people get interviewed that worked on the movie, they all say, Kurt Russell really directed Tombstone. So I don't know. And then Michael Biehn said, on his podcast, like, I'm tired of people asking me who really directed Tombstone. He goes, it was a collective group effort. Which we, the audience, the fans, really know who directed it. But yeah, they did that quote-unquote director's cut. It only had a couple extra scenes. But Kurt Russell said that he owns all the masters. He owns all the footage. So I don't know, if that's ever going to happen or not. But again, I'm not an expert. I'm just going off of what other people have said. So there you go. And then we got another Kurt Russell movie here. Soldier. Which I always liked this. I remember watching it as a kid when it first came on HBO back in the day. I would love because it's Warner Brothers, I would love if Arrow were to do this. Now, would Kurt Russell do an interview? Probably not. But I think it could use a little love, so to speak. But always really enjoyed Soldier. Just a fun, it got lost in the shuffle. But it was a difficult movie to make because they had to wait a year to make it because Kurt Russell wanted to get into shape. So then Paul W.S. Anderson, which this is one of 3 movies that he did that I actually like. So he did Event Horizon instead, and then that movie got fucked with, and then they started shooting Soldier, and then Kurt Russell broke his leg, so they had to shuffle the filming schedule, and then it went over budget and everything, and then it came out and it did nothing, but it has since gained a cult classic. And so again, I think it's just a fun late 90s sci-fi action movie because after Independence Day came out, they were making a shit ton of sci-fi action films like Deep Rising and Soldier, and a bunch. Dark City has some action elements in it, but it's more of just a straight up sci-fi movie. But a lot of those movies didn't do well. A lot of those movies got caught in the shuffle, and the marketing was terrible, and the studios didn't really know what they were doing. What a shock. So there you go. But it's a good film. Next up, we have Pet Sematary 2. To this day, I still have never seen the original Pet Sematary. But I always like this one. This one was just constant. Like, the Sci-Fi Channel ran the shit out of this movie back in the day. So it was constantly on TV. I used to watch it. I still really like it. I still think it's dark and it's creepy and it's brutal. And I have the work print. The work print has even more violence in there. But it's solid. And this edition is really good because you have a commentary with the director, Mary Lambert, which is funny. Women need to direct more movies. Women always did direct movies. You just don't want to talk about Mary Lambert and Betty Thomas and Penelope Spheris and Catherine Hardwicke and Catherine Bigelow. Patty Jenkins sucks, so there's that. But there's been some awesome female directors, Mary Lambert included. So there's a commentary with her. There's an interview with Clancy Brown, which is a great interview, and it's hilarious because at the end he starts doing Mr. Krabs, and I'm glad that they left that in. I thought it was funny. And the funniest part of the interview was he was like, I don't know why my character killed, his wife and his stepson. He goes, that was just unnecessary. That was me. He already was, evil to particularly the stepson, but that was just mean. Like I just thought it was so funny that he did that. But I like Pet Sematary too. I always did. When it came out, it didn't do well. And Stephen King is a fucking retard. I have other words I would like to use for Stephen King. Well, I can say cunt on you. Stephen King is a cunt. He always was. I always thought he was the most overrated writer ever. I like the movies more than his books, and he didn't like Pet Sematary too, so he took his name off of it. But fuck Stephen King. Anyway, next up, a guy that I do like actually, Wesley Snipes. We're gonna get in some Snipes. There we go. New Jack City. Love New Jack City. Again, Warner Brothers. Arrow. Maybe. I would love to see an upgraded special edition of New Jack City. It's too late for the 35th anniversary, but that doesn't mean anything. We can still get special edition of that film. Because again, I love New Jack City. And then we have the classic White Man Can't Jump, which we're never going to get a special edition of this because it's Disney. So there's that. But love this film. And they actually put all the features from the DVD on here. It has the commentary. I'm sorry. It has both versions of the film. It's got the music video and all that. But this White Man Can't Jump definitely deserves a special edition Blu-ray, but it's never going to happen because it's Disney. And I don't even like basketball, but it's certainly one of the best basketball movies, and it was always one of my favorites. I'd say that. Blue Chips, I like. And that was a movie that came out and flopped, but I like Blue Chips with Nick Nolte, the William Friedkin film. Like Mike, because that was a childhood favorite. Space Jam is a childhood favorite. Even that Disney Channel movie about the Jewish kids playing basketball. Fuck's it called? Full Court Miracle? Yeah, that one I like too. Anyway. Passenger 57. Love Passenger 57. This was a movie that my parents had on a recorded VHS, but it was only half of the movie. But it was all the good bits. It was all the action and everything. So this is one that I would watch as a kid a lot. And again, I love it. And again, Warner Brothers... Arrow, Bueller. I would love a special edition of Passenger 57. Solid movie. And one of, Die Hard on the air. I like that it doesn't all take place on the airplane. I like that they get off the plane and then they get back on the plane. Kind of like what they wanted to do with Speed when it was going to be Jeff Speakman. I lost my damn train of thought. But I love Passenger 57. I always did. Then we have Drop Zone, which this is Lionsgate. This is when Lionsgate had a deal with Paramount. Right? Yeah. I know Vinegar Syndrome released it, and it does have a commentary with John Badham, but I'm not paying $50 for it. I like Drop Zone, but not $50 on 4K, you know what I mean? So I'll shop around and see if I can find one cheaper. Because I do like the film, and it's very well directed. John Badham was always one of my favorite directors. Very capable, very solid director. And, it's a good little 90s action film. But I'm not paying $50 for it on 4K, so there's that. Next up, Blade, which is again, New Line, Warner Brothers, Arrow, talking to you. Blade is long overdue for an updated special edition, at least in my opinion. So, again, Arrow, if you are listening to me, then we have The Art of War, which I do enjoy. Didn't really do anything when it came out, but not a bad little early 2000s action film. And this is one of the last movies that Wesley Snipes did that was a theatrical release because his career started to go downhill. But then this movie made money. Blade 2, which also New Line, Arrow. Hell, I mean, if Arrow did a Blade 1 and 2 box set with all new extra features, maybe even stuff with Wesley Snipes, day one. Fuck Blade Trinity. I don't give a fuck about Blade Trinity. No one does. But if they did a box set of the first two Blades, 4K transfers, new extra features, again, maybe something with Wesley Snipes, I'm there. But what's really cool about this Blu-ray is it had all the features from the DVD, and then it had new features. So it had the old commentary with Guillermo del Toro and Wesley Snipes, and then it had a new commentary that he recorded for this, and then there's a couple new interviews and stuff on there, which is cool. But Blade 2 was always my favorite, even as a kid. But Arrow would do, maybe for Halloween, maybe Halloween 2026, Blade and Blade 2. We'll see. I'd love it. I'd love it if they did that. But speaking of Wesley Snipes, I'm looking at the DVDs up there. Boiling Point has a Blu-ray. I just need to get it from Umbrella. Money Train got a Blu-ray here. I love Money Train. I would love if that got an updated Blu-ray with features, but probably not. And then Murder at 1600, there's bootlegs that are out there. But I always liked Wesley Snipes. Oh, you can see the Demolition Man poster in the corner. I always really liked his work. I think because after a while his movies weren't making... Hell, I even like U.S. Marshals. I need to get that on Blu-ray. That actually got an official release. I think because, his movies weren't making money anymore, and he at one time, I think now he's mellowed out, but at one time he was difficult to work with. Blade Trinity, where he refused to come out of his trailer and he would only be referred to as Blade. And, there was a time when he became very difficult to work with, but I think that has since mellowed out. And the fact, once again, that he went to jail longer than fucking Victor Salva and these pedophiles and everything because he didn't pay his fucking taxes, which is theft. Taxation is theft. You all know this. It's fucking stupid. Bullshit. Anyway, Wesley Snipes, baby. Wesley Snipes matters, bitches. Fuck them. Anyway, stop looking at my ass. We talked about this. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to grab everything off of the shelf that's left, and that way we can finish that up, and then hopefully move into the next shelf. So next up, we got some Patrick Swayze. Miss Patrick Swayze. Love Patrick Swayze. Swayze dog, I miss you. Then we have first up the Shock Factory release of Red Dawn, which apparently possibly might be a documentary at some point. We'll see. But love Red Dawn. What's great about this is it has all the extras from the DVD, and then it has a bunch of new stuff on here. But killer film. Even like this was another film. As a kid, it was just always on TV. Red Dawn was always on TV, so I used to watch it, frequently. Hell, it's one of those movies that if it comes on TV like today, not that I care what's on cable, but if it was on TV right now, which hell it might be, I would sit down and watch it because it's fucking Red Dawn. Next up, Next of Kin. I always really like this, and this is another one. And you're seeing a trend here with Patrick Swayze movies, which will continue with the next one. This was another one that was just always on cable. It was always on TV as a kid, and I used to watch it all the time. And once again, Warner Brothers, Arrow Video. What you waiting for? Let's go. I'd kill for a special edition of Next of Kin. Now, sadly, Patrick Swayze and Bill Paxton are gone. I doubt Liam Neeson would do an interview. But Adam Baldwin, what are you doing? Come on. But Fucking love Next of Kin. Brian Gates. And then we have the Vinegar Syndrome release of Roadhouse, which I love. This was a very, very nice surprise. This was a very nice addition. Fucking love Roadhouse. So there you go. I know Arrow did their own, which I don't think it had any new extra features, but I did hear that the transfer was a lot better on their version. I'll have to check that out, but I love... This is definitely one of the best Vinegar Syndrome releases as far as I'm concerned. And it comes with the book, little booklet in there, which is nice. And then here is the slipcover, which I always love that poster. I want to get that poster of Roadhouse. And once again, this was another Patrick Swayze. This, Red Dawn, Next of Kin, Dirty Dancing was always on fucking TV growing up. What's Ghost? And I like Ghost, actually. Ghost was just always on fucking TV. Point Break, which I do have Point Break. I just got the, is it Umbrella or is it Via Vision? I got that over there. I got it. I just haven't watched it yet. Those movies, Patrick Swayze movies, were just always on fucking TV when I was like I said, back in the day, you could turn on TBS Superstation and there would just be a Patrick Swayze marathon on, and it was all the movies that I just mentioned. So there's that. Oh Jesus! And then we have one of the last big theatrical movies he was in, Black Dog. I like this film. Like I kind of like. I remember when it came out as a kid. I was like, oh, Swayze, and he's like a truck driver, and there's fire. Like, oh, that should be cool. But I didn't see it focus till many years later. It was running on cable at the time, and I was like, all right, let me check this out. I quite like it. I don't think it's bad. It flopped. It was a big flop when it came out, and I think it was the last big theatrical movie that Patrick Swayze starred in. After that, he did a lot of TV work, and he did, smaller roles and directed video stuff. But, good movie. I do like that film. I can't complain. And then we have the only good Jaws movies in my book. We have Jaws, this is the older Blu-ray, which I'm okay with. I love Jaws. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Do I need it in 4K? Not really. I think there might have been some new extra features, like the one that came out this year for the 50th, but, I don't need it in 4K. Like I said, it's one of my all-time favorite movies, but no, I don't need the 4K. And then we have Jaws 2, which I always love. Honestly, though, Jaws 2, I may have seen more than the first, because, again, I know I keep going back to this, but I love talking about this shit. Jaws and Jaws 2 were constantly, again, here we go, constantly on television. TBS Superstation, they would have those, Super Saturday marathons that they used to call, or Super Sunday marathons, the Super Jaws Sunday or whatever. They'd show all four of them. But, they were always on. But I think Jaws 2 might have been on more than the first. So there's that. And then we got some Beavis and Butthead here. We have the Do America. Love the Do America movie. Love this classic. Hey, Paramount. Next year, 30th anniversary. Maybe a theatrical re-release. Maybe. I'll be there. But ever since I was a kid, I loved it. And it's funny because, like this, another one. HBO, Cinemax, MTV used to run this a lot back in the day. And my mom was like, you're not allowed to watch Beavis and Butthead. But the movie would always be on, so I'd always watch the movie. It's just funny how parents are, but you're not allowed to watch Beavis and Butthead. Really? Like, two morons sitting on a couch making fun of music videos? That's harmful, apparently. And then we have Volume 4. This is because they did the Mike Judge collections. They were trying to tie this in. But this is when they brought it back in, I want to say 2011. this is that full season on Blu-ray. So there you go. Which I loved this, and when they brought it back a couple years ago with Do the Universe, and there's actually, it's on now. There's a season on now. I actually really liked it. I still think it's funny. I don't think Mike Judge is as involved as he was before, but he still does the voices and everything. But I think it's still hilarious. Yeah, 2011. But oh shit! Yeah, of course I did that. I really like this, and I like the stuff that they're doing now. And I will fix the fucking microphone. So sorry about that. All right, so I knocked the fuck. Of course I did. Knocked the fucking microphone off of the camera. So I just did a little edit there. Oh god! Again, I need new kneecaps. The little edit there to get it back on properly, so I apologize about that. Now we're gonna get into Dr. Jones. This is the Complete Adventures. This is the old Blu-ray, but again, I love Indiana Jones. Do I need them on 4K? No, I don't, especially when there's no new extra features. But I really, really enjoy this digibook presentation. Got some great artwork in here. Like, look at that. That's badass. And I love that they included, you know, the original poster and behind the scenes photos. Like, that's really awesome. But again, I love Indiana Jones. And I do have the original Blu-ray for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because for whatever reason, again, Paramount, same studio. I know you already know what I'm going to say. They didn't put the features on the box set. So that's why I have the original release over there too. Then we have the Alien Anthology, which great box set. You know what else was a great box set that nobody ever talks about? The Alien Quadrilogy set. Now I never had that because I don't like Alien 3 and Resurrection. And I know what you're thinking, well, why do you have that set? Because this has the bonus discs that have features for the first two movies, so that's why. But this is a great box set. It has the two bonus discs in here, which have features for the first two movies, like the stuff that was on the laser disc and the aliens ride at the speed of fright and all that. But this is a killer set. Again, the Quadrilogy set was awesome too. I remember when that came. I always wanted to get that set, but for whatever reason, again, I don't like Alien 3. I don't like Resurrection. I only got because I think about a year or two after that set came out, they released the movies individually, and I got the Alien and Aliens from the set, but I never got the box set. But this Alien Anthology is awesome. And then we got Bad Boys, Bad Boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? So I have the 1 and 2 20th anniversary collection, which, this was the first movie had been out on Blu-ray for a little bit, but for whatever reason, Bad Boys 2 had not come out yet, and I think they're in 4K and such. But this is a really cool set. I got this at I think the Exchange, the Post Exchange in Fort Carson, Colorado, when I was out there. It's very cool. And then we have Bad Boys for Life, which this is the Target exclusive. It came with different artwork and a poster, but thought that was cool. But I saw this in the theater. I actually really enjoyed this film. I did review all the Bad Boys movies, before the old channel got shut down. Bad Boys 4 was fucking terrible. Bad Boys 4 was awful, but the first two I absolutely love. The third one's good. But Bad Boys Ride or Die was fucking terrible, so, oh god. Sorry. Next up we have the Nightbreed limited edition with the director's cut and all the other features. I had never seen this movie before, but I bought this because I heard, hey, they found the original cut and all this other stuff. So, and I quite like Nightbreed, actually. It might be, I don't know. It's hard. This or Hellraiser 2. because Clive Barker was actually involved. I don't know. But yeah, this has all the extra features and the theatrical cut, which I've never seen the theatrical cut actually of Nightbreed, but the director's cut I really enjoyed. And I still haven't watched it yet, but I do have the Cabal cut that they put out. I think it was like a Kickstarter thing or something. That has, because they found like the work prints and they found like dailies footage and they did like the definitive cut of the movie. So I have that over there in the other part of the room. I just have not watched it yet. Well, I fucked up. I should have did these with Indiana Jones, but I do have the Star Wars trilogy. These are the despecialized editions. I know that footage leaked out and there's rumors that potentially Disney is going to actually release the original versions because they're trying to salvage their reputation when it comes to Star Wars. But I will believe it when I see it, just like anything else. I will believe it when it actually comes out, when it actually gets released. But like I said, I know some footage leaked out and stuff like that, but when it's on the shelf at Walmart or whatever, I will buy it. But until then, I'm sticking with these. So I got these off, I think, eBay. So we have Star Wars, and you could pick the artwork. So I picked the old school CBS Fox Video artwork because those are badass. So there's that. And these do have, this is version 2.7. And then it does have an extra features disc as well. So these are cool. I got these like right when I got out of the Army, which is cool. But yeah, I'm sorry, I should have put them with Indiana Jones. Then we have Empire. 1-800-238-EMPIRE today. Can't help it. And then this is version 2.0. And then again, the extra features disc. And they look great. Again, they're not perfect, they're not fantastic, but they do look awesome. I do want to watch these because I haven't watched the Star Wars trilogy in a while, in a good while actually. But I've seen them a million times. Especially, I don't know why. Like the first Star Wars, I do remember was constantly on TV. I don't know why Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi were not on as much as the first one, because I remember like the Sci-Fi Channel would show them and the USA Network, because they're both owned by the same company. I remember because I have recordings of those that I found online from the early 90s, and then after that it was really only the first movie that was constantly on TV. I don't know why Empire and Jedi weren't, especially when they did the special editions. The only one that I remember really airing on TV constantly was the first one, because I remember watching that a bunch of times. Excuse me. The 97 special editions, rather. So there's that. And then we have Jedi, which was always my favorite. I know people get mad, but Return of the Jedi was always my favorite Star Wars movie. And in this fucking dojo, there is only 3 Star Wars films, so there's that. And then this is version 2.5, and once more, you get an extra features disc. And pardon the noise. They're just getting some shit done upstairs. And then the last for this shelf, but I will probably go about another 25 minutes here. We'll see. Sorry, I had a moment there. Got some Eddie Murphy stuff. So first up we have 48 Hours, which is the Paramount Presents when they were doing this line. I think they have since stopped doing the line. See what I did there? But it does have a new interview with Walter Hill, which is cool. But I really like these. I like that they open up and you get the original poster art. And there's some good shit on here, which is good. Can't complain. And then we have also Paramount Presents Trading Places, which is a Christmas movie. and I love Trading Places. And this has a new interview with John Landis. Hey, John Landis, go fuck yourself. You should have went to prison. You fuck. I don't care what movies he directed. He should have went to jail. He got children killed for fucking movie stunt. So fuck you. And then we have the Beverly Hills Cop 35th Anniversary Trilogy. Now the shitty thing is, the first movie has the extra features from the DVD. The sequels do not. And none, I looked online, none of the Blu-rays anywhere in the world have the extra features. Because Beverly Hills Cop 2 had, I think it had a commentary with Tony Scott, and then it had interviews. Like Tony Scott was in there, Judge Reinhold was in there, Jurgen Prochnow. I know they did them like way back, when the DVDs came out, but they didn't put them on the Blu-ray. And there, again, I looked it up. There's no Blu-rays out there. I don't even think the 4K has it with those extra features. Once more, Paramount being fucking lazy. So there you go. But the first movie has the special features from the DVD, and then it has new extra features. But they were too lazy to do it for the sequels. Whatever. And then we have The Golden Child. I would like to get the Vinegar Syndrome because it has the features from this and then more. But I love The Golden Child. I want the knife. Give me the knife. And then we have Coming to America, which is another classic as far as I'm concerned. I'm surprised they never did a Paramount Presents or an updated version of this. And then we have another 48 Hours, which I do like. I know that the movie got cut as soon as, right before it came out and all that other shit. But I always like this sequel. There is an interview with Walter Hill on here, but no deleted scenes, none of that, because I guess they couldn't find it. And then I have possibly, at least in my opinion, Eddie Murphy's most underrated movie, Metro. Now this is a bootleg because it has never come out on Blu-ray for whatever reason. But Eddie said he actually is very proud of this movie. He really enjoyed working on this film, so that's awesome. Disney owns it, so, it ain't going to happen through them. Maybe if they, because I think they still work with Kino. Maybe Kino could do it, I don't know. But I would love if an official Blu-ray came out of that movie, because I love Metro. I just watched that Blu-ray not long ago. It looks really good. The quality is really good. Too bad there's no features. But Metro deserves it. I know when it came out it didn't do well, but it has gone on to have a cult following. And like I said, I always really liked it. I remember as a kid when it came out, and that Photoshop artwork sucks, but Eddie Murphy doing another action comedy, it's like, fuck yeah, I wish he would do more of that. And I know Eddie said when Beverly Hills Cop 4 came out, which I also did like, which does not have an official physical release, so you got to get a bootleg of that too. But when he was doing the interviews for that, he said that he actually, really liked that film. It was one of his favorites, so that's awesome. Fuck yeah. Can't go wrong with Metro. So there's that. Anyway, got about 20 minutes left within the hour here on this this round. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into this shelf a little bit. I'm not going to be able to finish it, but at least we'll get the Chuck Norris movies in the front, and then maybe work up to the Clint Eastwood movies on top there, and then we'll start Clint Eastwood in the next part. And then I got to put all this shit away, and then I got to eat because I'm getting hungry. So there you go. Anyway, all right. Oh, also Eddie Murphy. There's a Showtime. I don't think that has a Blu-ray. I need to get that. I like the first Daddy Daycare. I think that might have a Blu-ray. So there is a bunch of Eddie Murphy movies that I don't have on Blu-ray. So even the first Nutty Professor I like. The second one was okay, but I don't think I would ever buy it physically. But the first one I did like. Alright, Chuck Norris, my all-time favorite action star. I do have a bunch more of his Blu-rays over there in the other part of the room because I just haven't watched them yet, but these are the ones that I have watched and put away. So first up, his first starring role, because of course he was in The Way of the Dragon with Bruce Lee, but he was the bad guy. He was in Slaughter in San Francisco, which was a absolutely fucking terrible movie as the villain, but we have his first starring good guy role, Breaker Breaker. It's okay, but it's his first starring role. I'm not going to be too harsh on it, but it's okay. It's certainly not the best Chuck Norris movie, but it's there. And then we have the Anchor Bay actually put this out overseas of Force of One, because this has extra features which are not on the American release, which I have not watched yet. Again, it is over there. And then we have the original. Oh, this is Scorpion. Okay, cool. I forgot. The Octagon. I have the Kino. I have the Kino release of A Force of One and the Octagon over there. I just haven't watched it yet because they have different extras. But this went out of print very quickly, and it was going for some crazy prices. And I think I managed to get mine decently priced. It's okay. I do like the film. It's one of the early Chuck Norris movies. Pre Lone Wolf McQuade. There are some. Silent Rage I really like. Forced Vengeance I really like. Eye for an Eye I like. Octagon's not bad. And this is another one that I remember. It was just always on cable growing up. It was always on TV. And I would try to watch it, and then I would fall asleep, and then I'd miss half of it or whatever, because it would always come on at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'd try to get up early and watch it, then I'd fall back asleep. But it's okay. Good cast. I mean, Lee Van Cleef is in it. Richard Norton, I think, dies 5 times, like he said in interviews. But yeah, there is some interviews and stuff on here that ended up not making it to the Kino Lorber release for whatever reason. And then speaking of Eye for an Eye, we do have that. Always liked that artwork. I always thought that poster was really cool. And this is from Kino. There is an interview with director Steve Carver. May he rest in peace. I did not know that he passed away until recent. I think this year. Earlier this year I found out that he died. But he directed that. He directed Lone Wolf McQuade. I think he did River of Death with Michael Dudikoff. He did a bunch of movies that I ended up liking. Him and Chuck Norris were actually good friends, and they wanted to keep a working relationship going. But when Walker Texas Ranger came on, the people that made Lone Wolf McQuade sued because they were trying to claim that Walker Texas Ranger was Lone Wolf McQuade. Yeah, there's similarities. And then Steve Carver said Chuck Norris broke off the friendship after that. So make of that what you want. But good director. And then we have Silent Rage. This is the Mill Creek release. I do like this kind of retro VHS slipcover. I thought that was cool when they were doing these. 88 Films put this out, but it had no features. I don't know why. I love this movie. This is Chuck Norris versus Michael Myers. So there you go. And that's the thing I love about Chuck Norris is, he always wanted to do something different. He always wanted to try to get better as an actor. I know a lot of people criticize his acting. Is he the greatest actor in the world? No, but he was more from the John Wayne style. Walk tall, keep your mouth shut, and kick the shit out of everybody, which I don't think anybody would complain about. But I like the fact that he would, he'd do like Lone Wolf McQuade and Delta Force, and then he would do Silent Rage, and then he would do Hero and the Terror, and then Hellbound. He always tried to do different things and evolve as an actor and stuff. So that's why I love Van Damme, because Van Damme didn't want to keep making kickboxing movies. Chuck Norris didn't want to keep making karate movies. He wanted to move on and do different things. Steven Seagal did not. Other people did not want to do that. Jeff Speakman, tried to do that. Yeah, he had a lot of shitty luck, but Jeff Speakman wanted to do different things and, evolve, and it just didn't happen, sadly. So there you go. But, we have one of the quintessential Chuck Norris movies, Lone Wolf McQuade. This is the... Who put this out? Scorpion. Yeah, Scorpion release. There is a commentary with the director and, a bunch of other people and some interviews and such, which is cool, but love that poster. Classic poster. Love Lone Wolf McQuade. A lot of people ask me, where do I start with Chuck Norris? I would start with Lone Wolf McQuade and kind of work your way from there, but, all-time classic. And then the other movie that I would recommend people... Oh, Jesus, I'm so excited I'm knocking it over. The other classic, quintessential Chuck Norris movie that I would recommend for people to start with is Code of Silence. Absolutely love this movie. One of my all-time favorites. I do want to get the 88 films released because there is different extras from this. The interviews are different and such. But all-time classic as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, whenever people ask me, where do I start? I'd start with Lone Wolf McQuade and Code of Silence and then kind of go from there. But those are the two all-time classic Chuck Norris movies as far as I'm concerned. And then we have the Delta Force, which I like Delta Force. I like Delta Force 2 more. That's just me. Because it's faster paced. It's more about Chuck Norris. You know what I mean? Not that I love Lee Marvin. I absolutely love Lee Marvin. But Delta Force 2 felt like more Chuck Norris's movie. You know what I mean? But first up, we have the Arrow release. This is old school Arrow. This is like 2014 or something. Yeah, I was right. Holy shit, I just guessed that. But, different extras. But, again, I like Delta. There's I think there's a documentary on here. Or, no, am I thinking of, no, Remo Williams. I have the Arrow Remo Williams because that has a documentary about 80s action movies, which never made it elsewhere. That's right. But there's a bunch of interviews on here, stuff that never made it to the American release, which you will see in a moment here. Because this one has different interviews and such. But then we have the Scorpion release. I love that poster too. I always thought that poster was awesome. And you cannot go wrong with the theme song to Delta Force. Every time I hear that theme song, I want to go fight terrorists and I want to blow shit up and I want to shoot bad guys because that makes you feel like an American when you listen to the theme song from Delta Force and you want to go and be the Delta Force and fight terrorism and kill evil and stuff because that's that's fun. So there's that. Anyway, then we have Firewalker. Love Firewalker. Just straight up fun. Again, Chuck Norris wanting to do something different. This is more of a comedy, and he got to work with Lou Gossett. This is the old Olive Films. I'm shocked that Kino or somebody else hasn't picked this one up, but there unfortunately no extras. It's Lou Gossett's gone. You can't interview him. Sonny Landham's been gone for a while. Melanie Anderson's not doing anything. She did interviews for Flash Gordon, so why? I'd love to hear her thoughts on this. But love Firewalker. Just fun. And then we have, again, something different, Hero and the Terror, which has kind of some horror elements. I always try to watch this, Silent Rage, and Hellbound around Halloween because, those are horror elements, stuff like that. Chuck Norris fighting the devil in Hellbound and Silent Rage. He's fighting Michael Myers. Here he's going after this killer and it's more suspense and stuff. But I always enjoyed this movie. Always enjoyed Silent. And there's Bobby Six Killer himself, Bransco Richmond, getting kicked by Chuck. But I would love if Kino did an updated release of this because there's no extras. Come on. Same with this one. Delta Force 2, which I always, again, really liked. Operation Stranglehold, Colombian Connection, whatever you want to call it. I just call it Delta Force 2, but there's no extras on here, which, hey, come on, it's Delta Force 2. And then we have the Vinegar. I did it again, son of a bitch. Alright, I did it again because I'm a moron. I knocked the fucking microphone. Again, I need to get a new microphone. As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by me knocking the microphone off, we have the Vinegar Syndrome release, The Sidekicks, which once more I think is one of the best releases that they ever did. When they were actually consistently putting out good releases, unlike now. So there's that. But this movie took forever to come out in America because of rights, and I didn't know this till recently, but people got sued when they were making this movie, and all that stuff. But this is actually, here's the booklet. I love that they did that. This is actually my favorite Chuck Norris movie. And it's funny because that picture, focus, is from The Hitman, and I was hoping that maybe that was a little hint that they were doing The Hitman, but they did not do that, unfortunately. And I love that slip cover. There we go. But this is my favorite Chuck Norris movie. This is the one that, as a kid, I just always rented from the video store. I was consistently watching it, and I'm glad that, I think this was in 2023, but I'm glad that it finally got released here. And there was a German release that came out a little bit before this. I have that as well. Because it's fucking Sidekicks, so there you go. And then last but not least, for whatever reason, they did put out Forest Warrior. It is what it is. But, it's Chuck doing a kid's movie. Can't really complain. He fights, he gets to turn into a bear, and he stops chainsaw with his bare hands. Because he's Chuck fucking Norris. Okay, so what I'm going to do, since we got like 7 minutes, I'm going to make this part a little bit over an hour, because I do want to get into this row here and about half of that row there on top, and then we'll stop at Clint Eastwood. And of course I have to do some editing, because I can't stop fighting the microphone apparently. So we'll knock out but we'll knock out those, and we'll get this part wrapped up, and then in part 5 we'll come back and we'll start with Clint Eastwood. That'll be a good place for us to get going in the next segment. So so this will run a little bit longer than an hour. Sorry. But it is what it is, as they say. So in order to make this easier, I'll just grab all the ones that I want to talk about, and then that way I don't have to get back up. Oh God. Yeah, we'll do that. Excuse me. I don't want to burp in front of the camera. First up, Ninja Assassin. I actually saw this in the theaters. I fell asleep because I had worked earlier in the day and I was exhausted, but I did see this in the theater. Not bad. I liked that Sho Kosugi was in it as the bad guy. He was definitely the best part. But I think they were trying to turn this into a franchise, and it didn't happen. And the other thing is, I saw it with a guy that I'm no longer friends with for many different reasons. It was me, him, and this girl he was trying to bang at the time. That ended up not happening, thank God. So there's that. She was a nice girl. She was a really nice girl, actually. Next up, we got Gremlins 1 and 2. I know they keep talking about doing a third Gremlins. I don't fucking care. There's only 2 Gremlins movies. And this is another one of the Diamond Lux Blu-rays they were doing before the 4K format kicked off. I might still have the J card for this elsewhere. I don't know why I didn't keep it with the Blu-ray itself, but I think I have it like up in my room or something, or in a box somewhere. But this has a 4K transfer, and I think it has some new features. I hate the commentary on here because they were trying... That's one of those commentaries where they did it... It was like in character, and they were trying to make it seem like this really happened and everything. And I'm like, this is fucking stupid. Like, why would you do that? And then we have Gremlins 2, the new batch. Love Gremlins 2. Love that poster. It's got some decent extras on here, but I would love if this would have gotten a nice, hey, Arrow maybe. But I guess they wanted too much money for Gremlins 2, so that's why it never happened. But love the first 2 Gremlins movies. I didn't see the cartoon. I don't care. If they did a Gremlins cartoon back in the 80s or something, yeah, then I would have cared about that. But, You do a Gremlins cartoon 35 years later. Do you really think people are going to care? Not so much. And then we have the other Zach Gallion double feature, Waxwork and Waxwork 2 Vestron Collector's Edition, which they still do, but I think you can only get them on the Lionsgate's website, and they jacked the prices up because I think Frailty was like $50 or something, and I'm like, fuck that, I'll wait till it's on sale or get it elsewhere. But always really liked Waxwork 1 and 2, some good features on here. Rest in peace, Anthony Hickok. And we have another Vestron Collector's Edition here with The Gate. Solid movie. The Gate 2 was terrible. I do not like that movie at all. It had none of the heavy metal stuff in it. They brought back the kid, not Stephen Dorff. I said sorry because I bumped the tripod. Louis Tripp, they brought him back, but then he died at the end of the movie, and then he gets up out of his coffin like he's not dead. This is fucking weird. But The Gate 2 I did not like. But the first one I absolutely love. I try to watch this around every Halloween. So there you go. And then we have Silver Bullet, one of my favorite werewolf movies. Love that artwork on there. That Shout Factory when they actually gave a shit. But love Silver Bullet. Piss on the Indians, piss on the Yankees, piss on them all. Before Gary Busey was actually fucking crazy. Then we have Rounders. Probably my favorite Matt Damon movie, to be honest. Absolutely love this movie. I don't play cards. When I was in the Army, I would play cards because that's what you do when you get bored. We play spades all the time. I'm not a big card guy, but I love movies about card playing. I love this. Casino Royale has elements of that in it. Cincinnati Kid with Steve McQueen. So I like, movies that deal with, card playing and stuff like that. I just don't play cards. I might play Go Fish every once in a while, or Old Maid, but there we go. Next up, Mr. Saturday Night, Billy Crystal's directorial debut. I absolutely love this movie. Now, it does have the commentary from the DVD, but it doesn't have, there was a making of and deleted scenes. None of that made it to the Blu-ray, but the commentary track did. And this, again, is Olive Films, which, hey, they actually did features. But I would love if this were to get another release from another label. It did... Oh, Jesus Christ. Here I go, throwing my Blu-rays around. It did not do well when it came out. It was kind of a big deal because Billy Crystal had just done City Slickers and all these other movies, so it was supposed to be the next big thing, and it just didn't happen. Oh, God, sorry. But solid movie. I've always really enjoyed it. Look, it's New Jersey in Pence. When I say that, it's from that movie. And some of the other lines and stuff. But, there's that. Alright. Let me wrap this up here. Ooh, Navy SEALs. Again, I do want to get the not Kino. Kino would have been great for this. Vinegar Syndrome has got features. This does not have features, but guys, it's got a 1080p high definition. But I always liked Navy SEALs. I always thought this was a fun 90s action movie. I know Michael Biehn doesn't like it. When I met him, I brought it up, and he was appreciative. He goes, thank you, but, on his podcast, he said, I don't like the film. But I do. I think it's a fun 90s action movie. That's just me. Then we have Zombieland, the Nut Up or Shut Up edition. I think this was a Best Buy exclusive. I liked the first Zombieland. I did not bother to see the sequel. I heard it was terrible, but the first one I actually quite enjoyed. And it's one of the few movies I can stand Jesse Eisenberg. I don't like Jesse Eisenberg. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he's a wonderful guy. I don't like him as an actor. I could never get into his work. I don't care, but that's just me. But I do like this movie. Unfortunately, the bonus disc is a Blu-ray and not a DVD. So there you go. And then we have the John Wick trilogy, because in this dojo, John Wick is only a trilogy. So there's that. And these are all I think the Best Buy Steelbooks. But they're all cool. You know, again, I'm not a big Steelbook guy, even though I have a lot of Steelbooks. Because, again, I don't get the... Everybody gets fucking crazy about these Steelbooks, and they rust. Like, some of these are rusted. It is what it is. But we have the first John Wick. Then we have John Wick Chapter 2. And there's really nothing on the back. It's just logos. And then we have John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, which was my favorite. I saw John Wick 3 in the theater and loved it. And didn't see the other two. And then we have The Departed. Excuse me. Classic Scorsese movie. I still have the DVD because the DVD has a documentary about Martin Scorsese, which never got released anywhere else physically. So that's why I still have that over there. But love The Departed. One of my favorite Scorsese movies and one of my favorite gangster movies in general. And then we have The Hangover, which was the only good one in the franchise. The sequels were terrible. But this is it's got both cuts of the movie and a bunch of extras. But love the first Hangover. Again, the sequels were terrible. It's funny because for a while, that's the only like comedy film that everybody talked about. Now nobody talks about it. But I still like the first one. That's just me. And then we have... other hand now, Speed Racer, the complete series. Love Speed. I used to watch this as a kid, but when I got this Blu-ray, I watched it, and I didn't realize just how wacky and goofy this show is, but I still love it. Speed Racer is a classic. It's definitely one of the greatest anime ever. And I think this was the first anime that came here to America, if I'm not mistaken. But I love Speed Racer. Speed Racer is a classic. And then we got the only two good Tony Jaa movies, at least in my book. We've got Ong Bak, the Thai Warrior, which Fox, so it's Disney now, but I would love if this got a super duper special edition, but this is a classic martial. I remember when this came out, the trailers were like, he does all his own stunts and he doesn't use wires. And I was like, what? Sounds like my kind of movie. And then we have The Protector. Hey, Dragon Dynasty. Hey, Harvey Weinstein, go fuck yourself. So there's that. But Dragon Dynasty put out a bunch of good movies, so I can't complain about that part. But yeah, these are the only two good ones. I saw Ong Bak 2. I thought that was terrible. I never bothered to watch the third, and then I didn't see The Protector 2 or any of the other movies that he did. So there you go. Which is sad because Tony Jaa is fucking awesome. It just, he made a bunch of shitty movies and then he waited too long because he would make movies and then he went back to being a monk and then this and that and the other thing. So there you go. But anyway, that is it for part 4. We will jump back into part 5 with Clint Eastwood, and then the rest of that will get done, and then we'll start working on the bottom shelf, which you can't see. And then we will move over yonder. So we'll do that. But anyway, we'll talk to you guys on the next one. See you.